Every single day, you drive right past unassuming storefronts that are secretly running on highly optimized margins, generating massive cash flow right under your nose. Listen, the local convenience store isn't just a place to grab a quick soda. It's a highly calibrated machine built on precise inventory mechanics and real estate strategy. In this explainer, we're going to tear down the veil and give you a complete step-by-step breakdown of exactly how these hidden gold mines operate. And we're not just throwing around abstract theories today. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have the exact roadmap, fueled by an institutional-grade interactive model to fund, build out, and launch a 2,000-square-foot convenience store for exactly $240,000. Here's the roadmap we're following. 1. 3 paths to ownership. 2. Site selection and profit margins. 3. The $240K startup capital budget. And 4. The execution and launch roadmap. Chapter 1. 3 paths to ownership. How to enter the convenience store market. So you basically have 3 overarching ways to enter this space, and they scale based entirely on your capital constraints and just how hands-on you want to be. Number 1 is the owner-operator model, where you buy both the physical real estate and the business itself. Number 2 is the business-only or leasehold model, where you launch inside a footprint you rent. And number 3 is the passive real estate model, structured around a triple net or NNN sale-lease. Let's look at the 2 extremes. The owner-operator model demands some heavy upfront capital, but it gives you maximum enterprise value and long-term asset appreciation. On the flip side, the NNN passive model, think of leasing a property to a corporate giant like 7-Eleven or Wawa, offers 0 operational burden. You're literally just collecting steady, predictable rent checks. Now that we understand the ownership models, we have to look at the exact micro-location metrics that keep the lights on. Chapter 2. Site selection and profit margins. Where you plant this store is a life or death decision for the business. You are targeting a primary frontage that boasts a minimum of 15,000 to 25,000 plus vehicles per day. But honestly, traffic volume means absolutely nothing if customers can't pull in easily. You have to ensure uninterrupted right-in, right-out access. Add to that a dense 1 to 3 mile radius of residential pockets or industrial hubs, and you've got the physical foundation for success. But you don't just want cars passing by, you want guaranteed daily foot traffic. Being right next door to specific community hubs like high schools, major transit stops, active construction corridors, or massive apartment complexes is what truly drives those essential, repetitive, everyday purchases. Okay, get ready, because this is the absolute hidden truth of the C-store business. Tobacco, it sits at just a 12.5% margin. Fuel might net you 10 to 25 cents a gallon. Those are just low-margin customer magnets to get people in the door. The real money is in beverages and fountain drinks, falling in a massive 57.5% gross margin, alongside packaged goods at 37.5%. The fountain drinks are secretly paying all your bills. All right, we know where to build and what makes money. Now let's look under the hood of the spreadsheet. Chapter 3, the $240,000 startup capital budget. Let's break down the money for a 2,000-square-foot footprint. Here are the heavy hitters of your initial capital expenditures. You're looking at $45,000 for leasehold improvements and build-out, stuff like drywall, plumbing, and electrical. Commercial refrigeration and walk-in coolers, that'll run you about $40,000. You need $23,000 for shelving and exterior branding, $15,000 for pre-opening permits, a $30,000 working capital liquidity reserve, and crucially, a $60,000 wholesale opening order for your initial inventory. All in with POS and security, you're hitting exactly a $240,000 startup requirement. But wait, you don't need that full $240,000 in cash. By securing an SBA or bank loan at a 70% loan-to-value ratio, your required owner equity contribution drops dramatically to just $72,000 out of pocket. That leaves the remaining $168,000 of principal to be financed. If you lock that in at a 9% annual interest rate over a 10-year term, the math puts your integrated monthly debt service payment at exactly $2,128.15. That right there is your monthly baseline debt hurdle. But debt isn't your only bill. You have fixed monthly operational expenses, your OpEx, eating into that gross profit. For our 2,000-square-foot model, assuming $30 a square foot, your NNN base rent is $5,000 a month. Add in $12,000 for baseline shift coverage payroll, $500 for commercial insurance, and about $2,450 for utilities and maintenance. You are going to need strong initial sales projections to clear this OpEx hurdle. When you're running an interactive financial model, you can play around with the assumptions to see what happens. You input your variables to stress test metrics, like rent or hitting your critical month one target of $60,000 in total sales, and the logic instantly recalculates your EBITDA and cumulative cash flow so you can see exactly where you stand. Listen, in this business, tiny percentages matter immensely. You absolutely must keep merchant processing fees contained at 2.5% of gross sales and strictly control shrinkage and spoilage at 1.5%. Even a fraction of a percent leak in inventory loss can severely gut your bottom line net cash flow over those first 12 months. So the math works. Now it is time to turn that data into a physical store. Chapter 4, Execution and Launch Roadmap. With the budget locked in, building this out is a highly systematic process that takes you from day one to the ribbon cutting across 4 distinct phases. Phase 1 is your due diligence, flowing directly into licensing, then the physical build-out, and finally operations management at the grand opening. Phase 1 is your 60 to 90-day window to dig deep. You have to conduct your own traffic count studies, verify the zoning, and analyze existing seller profit and loss statements. But hear me on this. Skipping a Phase 1 environmental site assessment, especially if you are dealing with old fuel infrastructure, is a fatal mistake that could bankrupt your entire project before it even starts. Once the site actually clears, welcome to the tangled web of local permits. Prerequisite to opening, you've got to secure your state alcohol beverage control license, a tobacco retail license, health department food service permits, lottery distribution contracts, and your final occupancy permits. All of this has to happen before a single piece of inventory can be legally procured. Permits in hand? Awesome. Phase 3 is physical assembly and supply chain setup. You're installing those $40,000 commercial refrigeration units. Crucially, you're setting up point-of-sale systems with deep inventory tracking, backed by high-def camera security setups for shrink control. Simultaneously, you're establishing heavy-hitting vendor wholesale accounts with distributors like McLean or Cormark to keep those shelves stocked. And then, the grand opening hits. But getting the doors open is only half the battle. Your ongoing operational success relies entirely on meticulously rotating out low-performing items to optimize those high-margin beverage and packaged food turn rates, all while maintaining relentless, rigid 16 to 24-hour employee shift coverage. Let's hit the bottom line recap on this entire blueprint. You are targeting a 2,000 square foot store sitting on a primary frontage of 15,000 to 25,000 vehicles per day. You're utilizing a $168,000 SBA loan, requiring exactly $72,000 in cash equity from you to bring this entire operation to life. You now hold the exact $240,000 operational and financial blueprint, down to the spreadsheet formulas and the vendor wholesale accounts. The math works, and the margins are absolutely verified. But the final variable is you. Do you possess the discipline and the micro-location skill scouting skills to step out the door, lock down the perfect real estate, and actually pull this off?